No.
I haven't told anybody.
I told, don't keep secrets from Brian.
Yeah, once he got that truck, I knew the trailer was next.
It was, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
Toy hauler boat.
Just 19-foot. Motorhome was just 2 months.
Still finding John.
We had to move on.
Hi.
I think these are the copies. If she has the copy.
Hi, how are you doing?
So, who's going first? Somebody kick him off or straight to Greg?
Probably straight to Greg.
Okay.
If that's all right.
All right.
We got it ready. Everything's prepared. I've been watching this thing so it doesn't time out
Greg needs,
for the last
Greg
30
needs no
minutes.
introduction.
Hi, Marcia. How are you, Tracy? Good, how are you?
Just turn loose.
It is no, yeah.
No introduction
He
necessary.
needs no introductions. Totally up to you if you want to wear your mask here.
Okay, I was going to ask you. I'll
Yeah.
probably learn if that's
Yeah,
okay.
it doesn't.
Okay.
Trying to make a presentation with it on.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I can't even do it sitting there. I'm within 6 feet, but life goes on.
Yeah, I know.
You're setting a good example. I was at a wedding. My niece got married over the weekend.
Oh,
Back in
congratulations.
Texas. Yeah, it was fun. Anyway, 200 and something. And
Oh, really?
oh yeah. So I've been warning everybody. I was like, I was with the no mask crowd for the weekend. So anyway.
No social distancing at all at the wedding?
Oh yeah.
What's that? Oh, God, no.
No. There's a lot of alcohol involved. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, exactly.
Dispose of the virus.
Hey, there's the newest scientific evidence.
You're like, it's for the safety of the country. And other than that, not so much. I have to have a second or third. Yeah. Anyhow.
So you'll have 14 days of wait and see how we feel.
Yeah. Hopefully. Honestly,
I thought I did too. Because I had like 4 of the something.
Oh yeah.
And the whole taste of food thing, I did not.
I can't even remember. That's where I got one. I can't remember that part, but
Yeah. Oh, really?
tiny. Just the weirdest mess. Last 2 months.
Yeah. Mine was like 2 weeks. I mean, it was just a couple weeks. So it was headaches. It was. I have a fever though, so I don't know if I have it.
Right?
I thought I did, but I didn't ever get tested. This was way back in January. So.
Yeah, a lot of people said that like November. Did you have it? Did you not? Yeah. I had it over. I gave plasma. If I had whatever. A couple weeks ago, I kind of logged in to see if I have antibodies, but like my friend's a nurse. She's like, yeah, but no one knows. He goes, we even get tested, and then we find out that later that we don't have them, so they don't really know. There's been inconsistent information from the nurses, like how long does that antibody last? Yeah. But it's just curious to see if you're exposed,
Yeah, I changed my comments a bit from
Oh, okay.
not much, but
Yeah.
Put a reminder between key hack and the work session. Give a 5-minute break.
okay.
If for some reason the work session goes long,
Okay.
so we can schedule the video.
Great. Thank you. Done? When? Oh, she just moved in on Monday. She can't go back until. She just moved her stuff in? Yeah.
Councilmember McClymans, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, we'll start in a couple minutes. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So she got a COVID test today. She said it wasn't a bad deal. It was easy. Yeah, they're doing untitled.
Still there?
Councilmember McClymans? Yep. I can hear you.
Okay, we'll start in a couple minutes. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Feels like everything's going our way. Feels like everything's going our way.
Yep.
Well, good evening. I'd like to call to order our work session tonight that has to do with Chandler's recycling program. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to City Manager. We have a quorum with Councilmember McClymans calling in on the phone. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, back in February, we did make a presentation to you all in work session regarding the state of recycling. We had been discussing that, I guess, for the last almost 2 years at this point, in terms of some of the recycling issues that are out there and the cost that now where we were actually making revenue off of recycling, where that's actually flopped, where we're having to pay. During that work session, you all requested a 6-month update on recycling. So with that, we have Greg Capps, our Water Resource Manager, here to give you an update. Greg.
Thank you, City Manager, for that introduction, and good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's hard to believe it's been 6 months since we provided this update to you. The purpose of the meeting today is just to provide an update on what's happened over those 6 months and what type of activities our recycling program has gone through. So the agenda is going to be where I'm going to provide a real quick history on recycling. Also go over the current recycling trends, some of the education activities our staff has been involved with, also the impact to the budget, and then the next steps. So just a quick reminder on the recycling process. The collection trucks pick up the contents of the blue cans. That's contracted through Waste Management, so that's under a separate contract. Waste Management delivers the material to United Fibers, that's the company that processes the recycling material, and that's the contract we extended in February. United Fibers is located on Arizona Avenue in Ray. The recyclables are sorted into different categories or commodities. It's sorted through optical sorters type of equipment, and then also workers, hand sorts. There's also quarterly audits that are completed, and the quarterly audits look at the percentage of each category. So they'll bring a load of Chandler material into their facility, separate it all out so they know that they separate in 8 different categories, which is also a commodity, which helps with our revenue share that I'll talk about in a little bit. It also determines the amount of trash that's in the loads coming from Chandler. The items that aren't accepted for recycling are then landfilled at Butterfield, and recycling commodities that are not trash, they're sold to make new products. little bit of history. This is another refresher because we covered this last meeting. We started off with drop-off sites. We had 4 throughout the city, and those were big bins that we put in several parks. That's where we started. We started our curbside recycling, though, in 1995, so we distributed a bunch of blue recycling cans to our residents to start that program. With that program, we had to enter into the processing contracts, and that's the recycling contracts. As Marcia mentioned, in 1995 through 2018, life was really good in the recycling world, and we were actually getting paid for every ton of material we delivered to United Fibers. And then the recycling market pretty much took a crash before right around the 2018 timeframe. It was the material that was being accepted by China, which was at the time was the biggest importer of recycled material. There was more restrictions placed on that material, so it had to be much cleaner, and they weren't accepting the supply. So we had a larger supply than we did demand, which isn't good economics. So the recycling revenue went down. So in 2018, we entered into a new contract, and that includes fees. It's a processing fee. So the material we deliver to United Fibers, we pay a fee to process it, and then we get 55% of the revenue share of the material that can be sold. As city manager mentioned, in February, we had the work session. One of the directions that came from the work session is to extend that contract another year. With that contract, we have fees, processing fees still, the revenue share, plus an added waste charge for all the material that isn't recyclable. In that session, we had a discussion on options. At the time, the options were either dispose of it or recycle. We were directed to rebrand our recycling program. So we worked really hard on that. Tracy Conaway, our recycling specialist, has put a lot of work with our CAPA team to rebrand that. I'm going to go into the slides here with education in a couple slides. We also have been busy on education of educating residents what is recyclable. We were also directed to continue to explore regional opportunities. We have regular meetings, monthly, quarterly, with a lot of different recycling groups, cities mainly, and just exploring different options. What happened there was it started out fairly productive, but when COVID hit, a lot of the other bigger cities actually used their staff to pick up the trash. So a lot of the messaging at that point was how do they get through the COVID and keep their employees healthy enough to sit in a truck and pick up the trash. So we haven't really made a lot of headway there, but we're continuing to discuss different opportunities. The other thing we're directed, of course, is to renew the contract, and then as city manager mentioned, also to provide an update, which is why we're here today. But just to go over the state of recycling, recycling markets, we showed some improvements in April, and then unfortunately we got the June and July invoice, and it's dropped back down. I have a graph towards the end here. I'll show you. It's a good visual on what they've been doing. One of the big issues that's happened is cardboard is like 28% of our total load that we deliver for processing, and that cardboard's been going up and down, the sales of the cardboard. So that's one of the reasons we had fluctuation in the markets. The other thing we found is COVID buying habits, increased tons that we've been collecting. They've got, in 2019 of June, just to give you an idea, we collected 1,400 tons of recyclable material. This June, it was 1,750 tons. So the tons we're collecting is going up because people are buying more, bringing cardboard boxes to their home. Cardboard's good if they can recycle it, but then all the stuff inside of it also gets placed in the recycle bin, and that's trash. So it's a catch-22. We're doing our best to educate the residents on what we can and cannot do for that. The processing contract is made up of 3 different components. The first is, like I mentioned, the processing fee, and that's a flat rate that we pay United Fibers to process that material. The second piece is the revenue share. Again, we collect 55% of the revenue that they sell on the market. And then the last is the trash component, and that's $40 a ton. So anything that's not recyclable, we have to pay the $40 a ton. Invoices are calculated with those three metrics. You have the recycling tons for the processing fee, prices for each commodity, revenue share, and then a quarterly audit for contamination.
Vice Mayor.
Question on the processing fee. You said it's a flat fee. Is that a flat fee per tonnage or is that modified?
Through the mayor, vice mayor, that's correct. It's per the ton. It's just a flat fee for the amount of tons we deliver every month
Okay, thank you.
or every day that they collect it.
Mayor. Councilmember Orlando.
Yeah, so on that process, I mean, the $40 tonnage, is that what we normally pay to bring things to the weight center if you pick it up at the house? Or is that something special or is that a different fee?
You mean what we deliver to Butterfield, the landfill?
Yeah, so we deliver to Butterfield normally, like we know it's trash. What's that normal fee?
It's $41, a little over $41 a ton to deliver.
So it's
to-
about the same as whether they pick up in the recycling center or they pick it up there.
Correct.
Okay.
So whatever goes out there, that's what we pay is about $41, $41.37.
Okay, so it's pretty close, it's equitable. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, so the education and outreach. Again, Tracy's been busy working with our CAPA team to come up with a good plan, and the whole key was to rebrand the recycling program because we're not accepting all the plastics we used to, and we're just trying to make a nice, clear visual for our residents. They came up with the Recycle Right brand, and this is one of the postcards we put in the utility bill insert. Just shows what's recyclable, nice, easy visual picture to look at. There's a little note there that says, if you don't see it on this postcard, it's not recyclable. So that's kind of the brand. Now they've used it in other different ways, but that was the postcard we used. We did a bill insert in May. And then Tracy did several different videos. They did 6 different videos. And they used that on social media. They used it like they had one for paper, cardboard, plastic, and then all together. We did that. And then website was updated with the new brand in March. In social media, and mayor and council, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not an expert at all on social media. But luckily, Tracy and our CAPA team are, so they have to educate me too whenever they go out and do the different things they do. But they did cover these different videos and different blogs and Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and different blog posts. So they really covered a lot in the social media. Newspaper articles, I am familiar with those. I'm aging myself now, so. We had a really good one in community impact. That was right after our work session. But it was a multi-page article, and they used the Recycle Right brand, so it really turned out well on that one. And the Santan had another really good one, a newspaper article as well. We also do e-newsletters. We have over 1,000 subscribers for that, so that's a newsletter that goes out with the message. City staff presentations are ongoing. We also answer daily questions about recycling from our customers. And then curbside inspections, you can see that in the truck. We did 27,000 curbside inspections since March. And when they do those, if they see something in there that's not recyclable, they have a bunch of different flyers that they leave. It depends on what particular item they put in there that shouldn't have been. So it's a targeted message back to the resident what should not be in there. So I think that's a really good program as well. And so with all that, I'm sure you're interested to see what the contamination rate was since we last met. In February, our audit was 29%, and we dropped that 7% to 22% in June. So it was effective. We were able to drop it. Now it's all behavior, so hopefully that continues. Yes, Mayor.
So I think that's great. I'm trying to remember when we met with you last time, did we ask or did you share some information how other cities or their contamination rate, or do we have any idea how we compare with other entities with this good news?
You did ask, and that's the data I didn't bring.
Okay.
I tried to, but Tracy, do you have an answer for that?
Mayor, council, it's a bit challenging because everyone has a different contract. So we have a contract with United Fiber, but for example, Tempe has one with Republic Services. And so how they do the sorts, the sample sizes they use, it's a little apples to apples, but we can get that for you and see, you know, how we are doing. I know when we talk to other cities and towns right now, they're having the same challenges that we all are with increased tonnage, which usually is good when we're earning revenue, not so good when we're paying. But our contamination rates are similar when we've talked to others. A lot of them have not been doing audits because of COVID, like I said, but we just did one in June, so we might have more recent data.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy. So with that 7%, just to give you an idea, that's 128 tons that's been reduced per month. And keep in mind, those are quarterly audits, so that carries forward 3 months after the audit. So for 3 months, we'll have that 7% reduction on the books. And then just so you know, Tracy is out there early in the morning inspecting those audits when the United Fibers does those audits, and she does a really good job making sure that everything's per contract. So the education outreach moving forward.
Councilmember Stewart.
Just curious on the contamination thing, not because the mayor's competitive or anything, but what would be like the best score you could ever get on that? Like what's a reasonable score so that we would always be ahead of every other city around us? Because I know that's
we're going to get that number and that'll be our goal. But again, like Tracy mentioned, it's kind of difficult because depending on where they're sending it to,
Sure.
every processor has a different item that they
So we're
accept.
winning, is what you're saying. Great.
What's that?
We're winning, so that's what you're saying. Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Stewart, that's correct. Until the data proves otherwise.
We beat Gilbert, I think. That's all that matters.
So what we're going to do moving forward is there's going to be some e-postcards sent to our emails. And we have like 55,000 email addresses we could send those to. Facebook Live is another thing they had to educate me on, but it's video, a live chat with our residents. We're also going to do, that's going to be September, bus shelter posters in September. We're going to meet monthly with CAPA, make sure that we're on the same track as far as the education goes. We're also going to meet with continue to meet with other municipalities and organizations. Some of the, just to let you know, we meet with East Valley Recycling Alliance, MAG, Solid Waste Advisory, every quarter, Arizona Recycling Coalition every quarter, co-op meetings, which is the cities, monthly. We used to do that weekly. And then it went to bi-weekly, and with the outbreak, it's going to be monthly. So we do meet with several other cities and organizations. We're also going to be doing some cleans. They're the little, they just they'll stick on your recycle bin, and they'll have the brand on there and what items that could be, that you're supposed to be recycling right on your can indoors. We're also going to try stickers, going to do a small pilot. Stickers have some challenge because of the heat and the fading of them. And then if you change out the material, like let's say we want to reduce tonnage and we take glass out, we might want to take glass out of what's acceptable. So then we would have to go back and take all the stickers out. But we're going to try that on a pilot. And then the next couple slides are going to be talking about our budget and how the impact of what's to our budget for the recycling market. This first slide, it shows you how variable, and again, this is 8 different commodities grouped together, and this is the value we're getting, and the trash is actually taken off of this as well. So this is 100% of what United Fibers sold that material for, minus our trash. We get 55% of that. So in June, it would have been $38.24. That's what we would have gotten back from our revenue share. We couldn't, I apologize, we didn't get this updated for July. We just got the information. But July, unfortunately, went down to $61.08 for the total, so it did drop a little bit more. If you notice the May increase was due to the cardboard. Again, it's 28% of the weight of the material. Cardboard increased 47% from April to May and then dropped back down 2 months in a row. So it's just very variable, and that's just one of the 8 commodities. The other thing that happened in July is glass. We didn't collect any revenue from glass, and that's the other commodity where we were collecting a little bit. The weighted average Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. This number is the commodity. So they have the 8 commodities, the cardboard, glass. They sell that on the open market. So that's the value of our recyclable material that they're selling. It's by tons. I'm sorry, it's by tons. Yeah, it's tons. And then we subtract the weight, the trash off, and divide it by the total recycling tons we delivered, and that's what this number is. Okay. The recycling invoices, this is what we paid. It kind of gives you the history. In March 2020, that's when we extended February we extended, but the first invoice, you can see where that started. Again, it's gone up and down. Again, May, the reason why it was a better value in May is because the cardboard was a good value. June dropped, and then July, we just got that information dropped as well. And to give you an idea, remember the options we talked about, disposing versus recycling. If we would have disposed the material in July, it would have been $75,800. So it's still a little more expensive to recycle than dispose of. Hopefully, we're hoping the markets come back eventually. We might have to wait that out a little bit though. So that would be the cost avoidance.
Mayor. So just, I'm interested in the numbers here. So what I'm hearing is that at its worst month of 96, the cost to dispose of it is a flat rate. It's never really going to change based on the contract. So those numbers could fluctuate. So we're looking at a delta between what it would cost to dispose and what it's cost to recycle of about 500,000 or 400,000 a year.
No, the delta, because this is this number, this invoice, to keep in mind, it's 3 different components. It's the processing fee, the commodity sales, and the trash.
Yeah.
What we send to Butterfield is just a flat $41.37 a ton. So the delta in July would be $16,000. It costs us $16,000 more.
Per ton to recycle.
Correct. No, total for the month.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, this graph shows you how well we've been performing within our budget. So I tried to throw in at least a little bit of good news here. Is we're well performing within our budget. The maroon color is what Tracy projected. That was our estimate to build the budget on. The blue was what our actual costs were. So we're $33,000 under budget. So we're within our rates. So that's a little bit of good news. Try to get Tracy, Councilmember or Vice Mayor Lopez, to change the blue to gold, but she wouldn't do it for me. So, are there any questions on that? Okay, so next steps.
Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
all right, my finger wasn't as quick as that. So,
Sorry.
so the way it's average commodity sales, can we go back to that chart real quick?
Yep.
So, what did you say July was again?
July was
Right?
July was $61.08.
Okay, so it's a little bit above, but I think your trend line here, though, in all fairness to you, January, February had a couple of dips. It's still higher than the high point was before January. You had a $61, and most of these were in the 50s to mid 50s. So you're still showing a higher trend line here, at least.
Yeah, the issue though is the processing fee. The processing fee went up.
Yeah.
So back, and if you looked at July, we were paying $60 a ton to process the material. Now it's $80 a ton. So keep in mind, this chart does not include what we pay for processing.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
all right. So
that's
that's
the difference.
okay. But again, even though your processing fee went up, you still had an increase in some of these the
Yes.
sales.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than we thought.
Yeah, because you had a downward trend. Here you have, like I say, you have a couple spikes in here, or a little low, but it's still pretty high in the 60s. It's higher than the 60s, so that's good.
Right. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, so the next steps, and again, Tracy guaranteed me this was not staged in this recycling bin. But next steps is continue our education and outreach, continue to explore our regional partnerships, and hopefully we can get back onto the recycling discussions. We're going to explore potential code changes to reduce contamination, and we're going to evaluate our contract extension, which comes up February of 2021, because it's a one-year extension. And with that, I take any questions.
Tell Tracy I'm looking for a wire basket like that, so
That's a nice try.
I could
If
use
she
that.
took the picture, she took it out, so I'm sure
Okay.
she has it.
Council, any questions?
Mayor,
Councilmember Stewart.
that was a nice, anybody hang on to that? That's a charcoal burner, right?
Yes, yeah, I have two of them at home.
Yeah, well, you got it, you took this one, didn't you?
No, it's not mine.
Yeah.
I still have
Hey, real quick, on the exploring code changes, what does that mean?
So some of the cities are, they're removing cans from repeat offenders. Now we're monitoring what they're doing. If we ever did anything like that, we're going to continue to monitor the city programs. We're going to have to review the recommendations with our city manager's office, vet all that out. And if we get approval, we'd come to you with that. But we don't have any solid recommendations at this point, but we are, like Mesa, for instance, is removing cans if a customer or resident places material in that shouldn't be in multiple times. So that would be one of the code changes.
And I remember in a conversation, so just so I'm clear, that can spoil an entire ton, right? So we could lose $78 just from one person using the recycling can for trash.
Yeah, it contributes to the trash component of that invoice.
Yeah. The other question I had for you, and then I'll wrap it up. There was some discussion, I remember, in February about a co-op between the other East Valley cities for processing. Has that conversation continued?
Yeah, that was the meeting I mentioned that we meet with them monthly. Actually, the co-op was like weekly meetings. That was going okay. We didn't have a solid proposal at that time, but once COVID hit, Mesa's they were more concerned about getting their drivers in the trucks to collect the material, and that discussion kind of faded away. We're still meeting regularly though, so if there ever is an option, we're going to be there at the meeting.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe.
Thank you, Mayor. So when we talk about recycle items, and you've got your list of what's acceptable and what's not, and glass, let's take glass for instance, it weighs quite a bit, and you don't get much for it, if anything. Is that?
Yeah, this month we didn't get any. July, we were making a little bit of money earlier. It goes up and down as well, but we don't make a lot of money off glass.
Is there ever any thought to taking certain items off the list and saying, maybe even giving a place for people to drop glass if they want, but just not make it a mainstream item or something? That's just a for instance.
No, that's a good example. I mean, that's something we've talked about. We've talked about it with other cities too, and that was part of this partnership and the messaging. The problem is if we do it and the other cities don't, it gets confusing to the residents. So right now we've kind of decided to be in a holding pattern for that, but that's a very good point because it's very heavy and we're not making a lot of money off it. So we're paying the processing fee, we're not getting a revenue projection back. But that's something that's been discussed with all the cities, and that's kind of the reason why they haven't yet, is just because you start one city takes one item off and then it gets real confusing. So we were hoping to do a partnership if that ever happens, to have all the East Valley cities maybe do that.
I mean, there's diehard people that want to recycle everything if they could. And so if there's one or two items, you can say, hey, there's select drop spots for that, but otherwise it's not an item. So anyway, sounds like you're all on it. So thank you.
That's a good point though.
Vice Mayor.
I would just mention that the unintended consequence, because then if we do remove that from glass from recyclable, but people continue to do it as it's a typical recyclable item, that just then contributes to the heavier trash audit, right? So we definitely have to have a long-term, like a long-running transition period
Yep, that's a
Yeah.
hard deal it's hard to deal
Because
with.
again, most people, I mean, when you think recyclable, aluminum cans, glass bottles, that's newspapers. Those are top line items, right? So,
Yep.
just a thought.
Any other comments?
Good.
All right. Thank you so much. And, keep us abreast of any changes in the program. And thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
With that, that concludes our work session. It is 5:28, and we'll have our PHAC session start at 6.